The Wedding Date is a classic 2005 rom-com about a modern career woman who hires a male escort to be her date to her sister's wedding. You know, there are a lot of fake dating rom-coms, but not a whole lot where the guy is a male escort. At the time this movie was released, it had been about 6 years since the premiere of Deuce Bigalow Male Gigolo. So it was time. This movie is sort of the reverse of Pretty Woman, because in this movie, the redheaded lady is buying the escort instead of being the escort. I remember seeing The Wedding Date back in 2005. I think I saw it in theaters, and I remember thinking that this movie was just so sexy, that it was like the epitome of sexy movies. So I wanted to revisit it today, and we'll see if it holds up. Okay, we've made it exactly 2 seconds into this movie and I already have thoughts. So we've been shown a wedding invitation and a newspaper that is just full of ads for male escorts, while cheerful music plays in the background. First of all, there are a lot of male escorts in this newspaper. Secondly, I feel like a lot of these male escorts would be specifically catering to male clients, but there is no indication of that here. Thirdly, the male escort section header is right in the middle of the page, which implies that only the ads below and to the right are male escorts. So what are the nearly identical ads to the left? Is that the personals column, as described in the Pina Colada song? And finally, let's read some of these. Let me take you to warp speed. Simon C. Strong silent type, 31, 5'9", 165 pounds, a man who listens, and more. Chilled out surfer type, Brad, 6'2", 175 pounds, hazel eyes, solid, handsome, sexy, a man to make your dreams come true. 1 hour appointments available. Tender hands, Roger, 20. You know, he's probably trying to put himself through college. That's admirable. Fancy a ride? Rob, bodybuilder, 27, 190 pounds, 5'8", will treat you like a queen. All occasions catered. Does he mean that he will personally cater to all occasions, like he's open to a variety of circumstances? Or does he mean that he will cater his occasions? Like, you will hire this male escort and he will show up with like a meat and cheese platter. Playful American. All right. Pleasure seeker? Question mark. Barry, 26, 6'2", excellent dinner companion, all occasions catered for. Okay, see, he and Rob need to discuss grammar, because while I don't like ending a sentence with a preposition, you bastard, I do think that that helps explain that he will be catering for different occasions, as in his demeanor, his personality, whereas Rob over there just says all occasions catered, which to me implies that there will be snacks. I read a lot of these, so I'll probably just stick a couple clips at the end of the video. This movie lets you know the premise immediately. You can tell that Kat, played by Deborah Messing, is neurotic just from the way she brushes her teeth. You see an article on the bed about the new way to date. So she's not desperate, she was just inspired by an article. The answering machine message, because this is 2005, that's not a voicemail, the expository answering machine message from Nick lets us, the audience, know that Kat is going to an event and her ex-fiance will be there, and so will her entire family.
Your ex-fiance will wish he never left you, and your family will think we're in love.
And that she presumably hired Nick as her male escort without even meeting him first.
Can't wait to meet you.
And listen, I have no experience with hiring an escort, but I feel like I would want to see the whole package before putting down a deposit. Although I guess the phrase "see the whole package" has a different meaning here. But you know what? It works. She's reluctant to give Nick's plane ticket to the courier, which shows us that she is very hesitant about this plan that she herself came up with and carefully executed. Oh, I remember this song. It has nothing to do with what's happening in the scene where she's getting ready and looking at her ex's photo and looking at an engagement ring in a box and then going to the airport. The music in this movie is determinedly upbeat and cares little for context. We see that she works for the airline, but like, you're not gonna be able to get through security in 15 minutes.
I haven't seen my family in 2 years, and my flight leaves in 15 minutes.
This is 2005. It's still a post 9/11 world. Her job is not remotely relevant the rest of the movie. Anyway, she meets Nick on the flight, and he's handsome. Money well spent. By the way, this actor used to play like the suave hot guy love interest. And I recently watched the new rom-com, Anyone But You, and he's in it. And he plays the weird old dad.
Why are they so weird about their plugs? I mean, this place is basically America. They speak English, they eat regular food, they have a complicated relationship with their past.
Anyway, let's forget about the ravages of time and focus on this movie. The year is 2005. This guy's not that old, and the recession hasn't happened yet. When they get to London and they get to the venue for the first wedding event, Kat gives Nick his money in the coat room, and it is $6,000. I have some questions about that, because this is clearly a multi-day event. It's hard to tell exactly how many days, but it's at least a long weekend, and then there are the flights. So let's just say 4 days. So I called upon my old nemesis math, and if this is 4 days, that works out to $62.50 per hour, which is a lot, but I don't know. I just feel like buying a person for 24 hours a day for multiple days should be prohibitively expensive. And if the actual timeline is something more like 7 days, then it works out to only $35 an hour. Although he lets her know that any downstairs business costs extra.
Tell you what, I'll cover expenses, but if you want to be intimate, we talk money before anything happens.
Oh, no, that won't be an issue. Believe me, I find the idea of sex for money morally repugnant.
Kat's sister, who's getting married, is played by Amy Adams, and her character name is Amy, which I'm really bad at names, so that makes it super easy. All movies should do that. Wouldn't be weird at all. Multiple people tell Kat that she should have gotten married first because she's older.
Dear girl, this should have been you getting married.
The mom even puts it in her speech.
You know, it's funny, we always thought that we would marry off Kat first. And we came pretty close once, but as you all know, that crashed and burned.
The ex-fiancé is not just there, but he's the best man, and he very kindly interrupts the mom's speech with some random piano. People keep calling Kat weird nicknames.
Getting married, oh, Kitty!
Pussycat!
Kathmandu.
A top cat!
Kitty cat, Catmandu, Tomcat. The dynamics in this family are awful. And we get a very effective example of this when Kat is about to take a drink and her sister asks for Kat's drink. Like, they're standing at a bar, but Amy still wants Kat's drink. And then she won't even reach for it. She makes Kat hand it to her. And the fact that Kat just gives it to her is very telling. Then Nick gives Kat his drink and then orders a new one for himself. And that's just like, it's just a small, very romantic gesture.
Oh, Snuffle Pup.
Snuffle Pup. Nick has a conversation with the ex-fiancé.
Well, there's this girl that I care for. Well, I suppose you could say I love her. And the bugger is, of course, she's here with some other guy.
And the ex-fiancé says something that suggests that he might still have feelings for Kat. At least that is what Nick assumes, and it's what the audience is supposed to assume.
He seems a little drunk, but I think he's still crazy about you.
By the way, this movie is stressing me out. The idea of having to be either Nick or Kat and maintain this high-stakes lie in the setting of a multi-day, ongoing family event would kill me. Like, I would have a stress aneurysm and die. Of course, Nick and Kat end up having to share a room. We see the article again. Kat brought it with her. I would have burned it. But it turns out that while the article is anonymous, it's about Nick.
How'd you know that was me?
She interrogates him about the article.
This part. You say, and I quote, every woman has the exact love life she wants. Now that seems like a pretty broad generalization. Oh!
Nick surprises her with his penis, an action that I would normally think of as some type of harassment since they're not in a relationship, but the dynamic is just really different here. Although this movie never leans into the actual power dynamic. Like, Kat should be the one in power. She is paying for him. She hired him. But she's so nervous and she's so shy and hesitant about the choice that she made. And Nick is very unbothered and unabashed about it. Like, she's building pillow walls between them while they sleep. And he's just like walking around naked. It makes it feel like he has all the power, but that's really weird because it's not reflective of the actual situation. Kat just keeps peppering him with questions about his job.
Have you ever done a wedding before? Are you ever attracted to your clients? How many of them want to sleep with you?
Which he says is not all about sex, and Kat demands that he show her what it is about then.
It's not about me. It's about you.
Show me.
And he basically does some in-person self-actualization ASMR.
You're safe. You can relax. Stop worrying. Forget the past. And remember what an incredible woman you are.
And it works.
Holy crap. You're worth every penny.
She goes to the hen party and Nick has to bring Kat her purse, but because they're in public and they're presumably a couple, they have to kiss. And Nick kind of blinks during the kiss. Nick walks the drunk groom home after the bachelor party, or the stag do, and they have this exchange that I think is the best scene in the movie.
How do you know so much about so much?
I'm a hooker.
The women are getting wasted, and Kat goes to take a bunch of cash out of the ATM. Don't do it, Kat. This movie makes weird musical choices. Nick was singing that same song earlier in the shower.
Believing for so long, I'm all out of love.
I feel like the person picking this soundtrack didn't even read the script. They just saw a rom-com, looked at a calendar, and went, oh yeah, it's 2005. I got this. So Kat goes home and begins to seduce Nick, and seduces in quotes because the scene makes me so viscerally uncomfortable. And I don't understand either of their mindsets in this moment because she is very drunk and he is a sex worker who she has hired, flown to a different country, and just kind of accosted in the middle of the night. And he had told her earlier that before any type of intimacy, they would have to talk price, and they haven't done that. So not only does this feel like a bad idea, but it also feels like somebody is taking advantage of somebody. But I don't know who. The next morning is so awkward. Like, my stomach hurts watching this movie. Nick is very sweet, and he brings her a tray of hangover cures, and he goes to kiss her, and she stops him.
But I need to ask you something. What happened last night?
And you can see from the look on his face and the sad music that he is upset that she doesn't remember.
Nothing.
But also, dude, she was like very drunk, but also, don't lie to her, but also, girl, you should have some idea that you had sex last night. Then he finds her wallet full of cash and he confronts her and he is clearly very hurt and confused, and I am very uncomfortable.
Well, if I was going to charge you, I'd have told you beforehand. I thought I explained that.
I didn't want you to think that I was expecting anything for free.
And just so you know, you're 300 short.
At this point, I guess he's been falling for her, But why? They've known each other like 2 days, and it's not like they even bonded or anything. I could see why she might fall for him, because his job is to cater to all of her needs, like he has just been a handsome mannequin on which she can project all of her fantasies. Then they go to a dance class with the bride and groom, and despite being mad at each other, they have a great time. And then they have a moment.
I've been spilling my guts all weekend and I don't know anything about you.
I'm allergic to fabric softener. I hate anchovies.
They should have had a moment like this before they slept together, because then it makes sense that he would be hurt. Because this shows that he likes her and he's starting to open up and he's starting to be more of himself rather than just the escort.
I think I'd miss you even if we'd never met.
He says that and she says nothing. Next scene is a barbecue, and the dad sends Nick to go find Amy, and he walks in on this. The ex-fiancé tries to come clean to Kat.
Look, I feel like I need to tell you something. You're not even listening to me.
I'm sorry, I'll be back in just a minute.
But she's not really listening to him, and she runs off to go find Nick, who doesn't tell her what he saw. By the way, the previously very critical mom vaguely defends Kat by insulting the ex-fiancé, a character development that comes out of nowhere.
Could I have a word? Let me take a moment.
Well, let me think. You stole 7 years of her life with your bullshit and your charm, and now you'd like just a moment?
Nick and the dad have a talk, and he seems like a really good stepdad.
That was it. I was a goner. That was the day I became a dad.
Anyway, Nick asks him for permission to date his daughter.
This may not make much sense to you, sir, but I'd like to ask your permission to date your daughter.
I thought you already were.
And then Nick eats an anchovy, and he told us earlier that he hates anchovies, so that's of some significance. Then they're at a family dinner and they're telling this story about how Kat and Amy used to get along as children before this boy named Tommy Pee Pants came along and they started to fight over him.
My 2 girls got into a fight over Tony Pee Pants, and they have never made up ever since.
The scene itself is a little bit stilted, but it is an excellent example of a long-running family inside joke where you have this horrible nickname for someone and you've been using it for so long that you don't even remember where it came from.
So is that when he peed in his pants?
Well, he cried a lot, but no, there was no peeing.
So what's with the nickname?
I have absolutely no idea.
The ex-fiancé tries to talk to Kat again, and she tells him that she's over him, which Nick overhears, and that makes him happy. But then the ex-fiancé decides to blurt out the truth.
Well, I shagged Amy 2 years ago. That's why I broke it off with you. And then after you left, kept at it like rabbits.
And it gets worse.
Last Christmas when Ed proposed, I realized that I'm in love with her.
Kat goes to storm out, and then she finds out that the cousin knew.
Oh my God, he's told you, hasn't he? You knew?
She finds out that Nick knew. Nick knew. That sounds funny.
I can't believe you told her.
All I can think of in this moment is that I remember when those dresses were in style, and the whole thing was to wear them without a bra, and I think that's back in style. I'm very distracted. Kat runs off, dropping the wine bottles, and at first I was like, no, you could drink those! But then I realized that these are rich people, so those probably aren't screw top, and I don't think Kat has a corkscrew. Use rocks and sticks as tools, like our ancestors. The groom is still clueless. Poor Ed.
What's going on?
Nothing.
It doesn't look like nothing.
Now is not a time to catch on, Ed.
I don't remember if I said his name before, but the groom's name is Ed. So, feeling hurt, Kat lashes out at Nick and they fight.
You lied to me. But I guess I really shouldn't be surprised because that's what you do. That's who you are. You're a liar.
Nick goes to leave and Ed offers him the use of his car and the boathouse.
Actually, the boathouse is empty. Look, I don't know what's going on with you two, but I'm sure you'll work it out.
Ed tries to be encouraging.
You couldn't be more perfect if she picked you out of a catalogue.
Poor Ed. Kat has words with Amy. Do you ever use an expression and then after you've said it, you're like, is that actually an expression? Or did my brain just like churn that out from a half stroke or something?
He won't feel like the whole world is collapsing around him and there's no escape because you tricked him into marrying you. Your wedding will be perfect. Tomorrow I'll smile and say all the right things and you'll deal with Ed when you're ready.
It's very magnanimous of her to not want to ruin the wedding, but like, why not? Is nobody looking out for Ed? The next day before the wedding ceremony, the dad sits down to have a talk with Kat, and he quotes the article.
I remember reading a fascinating article in the New York Times magazine once, where this guy said, every woman has the exact love life she wants.
Nick's article. He knows. He has to know. I'm going to stress vomit. Does he think his daughter hired a male escort? Or does he think his daughter fell in love with someone who just so happens to be a male escort? How does he know about the article? He is a British man, and this is like a New York magazine. Did he do a background check? Is he a wizard? So Kat takes off in the just married car to go find Nick, but he's already left, and he left the $6,000 behind. You can't see the way I'm sitting, but I'm like contorted from stress. And Amy confesses to Ed about Jeffrey. That's the ex-fiance. I don't think I've used his name. And Ed very quickly asks, does Kat know?
Does Kat know?
Jeffrey told her last night.
Because Ed is a good person who thinks about other people, even though no one was thinking about Ed. Poor Ed. Justice for Ed. Jeffrey sees Ed and he can tell from Ed's face that he knows. So Jeffrey takes off running and Ed chases him through the town. And it reminds me a little bit of that scene from Bridget Jones's Diary, but like not entirely because those guys fight and these guys just run. Meanwhile, Nick comes back and he picks up an exhausted Ed in the car. And then Nick actually convinces Ed to go through with the wedding, which is a terrible life decision, but the cut from this scene to the next scene is actually pretty funny.
You go back, you get to spend the rest of your life having really great makeup sex.
So Nick and Kat make up.
I'd rather fight with you than make love with anyone else.
Okay, you just know that the person who wrote that line stopped and was like, yeah, I'm making my salary with that one. But I have to ask, why? Why did these two people even like each other that much? And, by the way, the only romantic declarations have come from Nick. He says something sweet, and she says nothing. So now Nick is the best man. And the wedding takes place.
Laugh and sing.
Can you imagine being an escort and just like taking a job and then a week later you're giving up sex work and you're the best man in a British stranger's wedding? By the way, while it seems like from just the context and everyone's reactions, it seems like Amy cheated on Ed with Jeffrey, but they have Ed say the line that I knew you were seeing someone else when we got together.
You were seeing someone else when we finally got together, but not Jeffrey.
I forgave her when I thought it was just some random bloke, but not Jeffrey.
And then during the chase, Jeffrey says that the whole affair was before Ed got with Amy.
It was before you guys were even dating! But you were engaged to our sister!
But since we don't hear what Amy's confession was, and Jeffrey's line was clearly added in later, it kind of makes me wonder if the original intention was to have Amy actively cheating on Ed with his best friend, but they just toned it down later to make her more sympathetic and to make it make more sense that the wedding actually happened. At the reception, Kat says some vaguely nice words, and Amy mouths, I love you to her, and Kat just smiles because this woman does not know how to return affection. The movie ends with everyone dancing at the reception, not a care in the world. And we get on-screen text telling us what happened to all the characters. Well, not what ended up happening to them long-term, just like over the next few days. So you may think that this movie was actively inspired by Pretty Woman, but no, it's based on a book called Asking for Trouble that was published by an author named Elizabeth Young in January of the year 2000. It's loosely based. The core concept of woman hires male escort as date to sister's wedding is there, but like not much else. The characters don't even have the same names. I don't know if they could make this movie today. Like, obviously you could make a movie about hiring a sex worker to pretend to be your boyfriend or girlfriend to be your date to a wedding. But with social media and OnlyFans, I feel like it would still be very different. It wouldn't be this movie. So this makes The Wedding Date a weird little time capsule, unique to the era it was created. A time when you could hire an escort from the newspaper. Yes, I know there was a male escort movie released in 2022 called Good Luck to You, Leo Grand, but it's different. It is a sex drama comedy. It is not a rom-com. There's no rom. Endangered Species, Last of the Romantics. Homer, 35, 5'11", 172 pounds, Suave Ivy League for the executive woman. Here's one that she apparently circled. It says, amusing, tall, Last of the Romantics. Gary, 35, 5'11", 172 pounds, Suave Ivy League for the executive woman. Wait a minute! That's the exact same as what's in the other column where it says Endangered Species, Last of the Romantics, but his name is Homer. Homer, Gary, what are you doing? Rock and roll star, for a rare sensual experience, contact Quentin, 33, 6'1", 190 pounds, certified massage therapist. There's a comma after certified because it makes it sound like he's certified and a massage therapist. What is he certified in? Sex. He's sex certified. Big teddy bear meets take charge lover. My conversation will dazzle you. My strong hands will delight you. Satisfaction guaranteed. Marky, 6'2", 220 pounds, shaved head, trimmed chest. I feel like that's for dudes. Pride without prejudice. Ivan takes pleasure in being your Mr. Darcy. Except Darcy is spelled like D'Arcy. And it's not, like it's the A is capitalized. And I'm pretty sure that that's not the case. So this man doesn't actually know who Mr. Darcy is. He thinks he's Mr. D'Arcy. Let me take you back in time while tending to your every fantasy. That one's got a little star next to it. Okay, this one says pretty fit Italian. Is he like pretty fit or is he pretty and fit? Greg down there has a ski physique. What is a ski physique? When he says he's flexible and open-minded, does he mean like flexible in terms of demeanor or like he is physically flexible? Could be either. Knight in shining armor, but armor is spelled like armor. Interesting. His name is Marcus.